Hello and welcome to your first day of class. I'm Marketing Communications Manager Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we are here to help. As a way to ease you into our unique student-centered model, we've designed this webinar that will cover all of the areas vital to success in your chosen program. Let me introduce today's presenters. First, we have Dr. George Del Hierro. He joined Trident in 2010 and currently serves as a full-time instructor and course coordinator in University College. During his time at Trident, he has worked closely with students in a variety of roles, including academic advising, financial aid, and academic probation support services. Dr. Del Hierro earned a PhD in educational leadership from Trident and has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration, and for student motivation. He is a passionate advocate for student success. Next, we have Tasha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3 and part-time faculty member. For the past 10 years, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as Senior Manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member of the Committee on Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. Just a few notes before we begin today's session. Although a portion of this webinar has been pre-recorded, you have the option to ask questions at any time. Look for the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, find a question box, type in your question, and then hit submit. The FDOC team is behind the scenes right now. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll answer them during the live Q&A session at the end of the presentations. Now I'm going to hand things off to Tasha to talk about student success tips.
Thanks, Daniel, and welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here. I love Trident University. I've been a student, I teach, and I wear many different hats, and I work with students very closely. So this is an exciting time for you to start on your educational path. Here's some things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about tips for success. I'm going to spend some time really digging in there. It can be a little nerve-wracking when you haven't done school for a while, or it's just a totally new environment. And so we want to make that transition as smooth and comfortable as possible for you. Dr. Del Hierro is going to talk about academic writing. That tends to be one of the main concerns with students when they're coming back to school is, how do I write? How do I get back in the mode of formatting my paper? And then we're going to talk about career and networking support. But I would ask everyone to stick around for what I think is one of my favorite parts of the webinar, which is the questions section. We always have great questions, and there's a great student success story at the end, so stay tuned. Now we're going to talk a little bit about just tips for success and moving into your classes for the first time. So whether you've been away for years, maybe this is your first class in college, or maybe you're just transitioning right into a different school, we want you to be confident. Everyone here has a different walk of life, and you all bring different perspectives. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a veteran or advanced in your career, or maybe like one of my 89-year-old students who came back and got a master's degree, you're in another season of life and you're ready to move forward. So what I mean by that is, know that your perspective will enhance the conversation and your discussions in your class, and you are worthy to be here. So feel free to ask questions. Know that you're supported. We're going to talk about your support team. Get to know your professors and peers. As faculty members on here, we often see students a little nervous to reach out to us, and there's no need for that. We want you to feel connected as a university and between you and the student. You as the student, my apologies. We're going to talk a lot about time management and long-term academic planning, but most importantly, have fun. And this will help with your motivation. This is something, if you ever get stuck or just feel like things are difficult, that's when it's time and a trigger should go off that you need to reach out and connect with us. And we are here and we genuinely want to help. So let's start by talking about time management. And this is something very near and dear to my heart, as Danny Sloan said, I got my master's degree at Trident University. At the time, I was a manager. I had a very extremely premature baby. I was in the office a lot and managing life and work, and I wanted to get my master's degree. So I can relate to trying to balance it all. One of my rules was when I got home from work, I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch. And the reason I say that is because it is so easy, especially these days, to just sit down, watch some TV, or get on your phone and just kind of veg out. By staying off the couch, my rule was then I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch until I went and did my homework. So that kind of comes up to our first point, which is create a time management plan. This might be new for some of you, or some of you might live and die by your planner. And so if this is new for you, think about it this way. You're creating a plan to succeed. When I see students not creating a plan, sometimes I challenge them to do so, and usually they come back and are able to submit more on time. They're able to figure out when they want to go to school for themselves. No one here is telling you to go to school at what time, right? Usually you have a certain amount, whether if it's your CERT program, you have a week, or if it's your master's, associates, or bachelor's, you have 2 weeks to do your module. And so anytime within there, you need to set aside a few nights or maybe mornings, whenever you think best and you have time dedicated to make that your school time. So when your friends call and they miss you because they haven't seen you in a while, you've got schoolwork to do and you want to plan your life around that. Now, Trident is all about flexibility too. And so consider weekends, holidays, birthdays, vacations. We want you to have a life, but you're now fitting this new component into your schedule. And if you don't make time for it, there just won't be time for it. And so I love to see a student with a plan. If that's something you can do today, get out your planner. I use my planner here. I have a wall calendar that you can see here in the back, and I have a digital calendar. So I am all about scheduling your schoolwork. And in the beginning, you may want to go in every day for even 15 minutes just to get a sense of what do you need to accomplish the things and to kind of feel like you're in the rhythm of school. Because I always tell students, in your first few sessions, always take classes back to back so that you can get into a good rhythm. Because once you get out of that rhythm, sometimes it's hard to jump back in. So write down your due dates. The bachelor's and master's and associate's classes are usually due on Sunday nights. So I would always say try and do your first discussion the first week of the module and your peer responses the following week. If you have questions about this, we can talk more in the Q&A section as well. And make adjustments to your schedule, but I think the key is to just have a plan, right? Don't get discouraged when you fall behind. Again, as I mentioned before, that's kind of that trigger. If you're falling behind, you may think, oh, well, I don't want to give excuses, or this is just on me. Trust me, we understand what it's like to be adults and to have things come up. And so we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And it's not to judge you. It's not to be upset with you. It's to say, hey, that's okay. Look, you still have time to do this, or maybe we can help you with this option. Again, there are options and exceptions if needed. And that's something that there are eligibility requirements, but we want to help you with. So let's talk a little bit about who you're going to be reaching out to in that support group. When you log into your student portal today on the homepage of mytlc.trident.edu, you will see 2 photos, and those are consider that kind of like your support team, right? There's going to be your student finance advisor, and there's going to be your student success advisor. Hey, maybe some of you guys have my face on there. You never know. I do support a lot of students, and I love it. And so in addition to that, right now, if you've just started your program, you are working with your admissions advisor. You've probably hopefully you built a good rapport with them. And once they get you all set up in class and started in class, within the first 2 weeks, they're going to transition you over to someone like myself, a student success advisor, who is then going to become your point of contact. I'd always encourage you to save their phone number, note when they email you. I always try to only email my students when it's something important that I want them to know. And so just kind of start to get in the groove of checking your emails every day, or we text and we call. So, and then finally, the other piece to that puzzle is your instructor. Now that will change from session to session, but they don't know what they don't know, right? And so if you're not submitting work and they don't know what's going on with you, they're just assuming maybe they're not interested in class, or you just don't want to leave any room for assumptions. So I would always say, even just email your teacher and give them an update about what's going on, or if you have any questions, or maybe there's something that you like about the class. So just know that although you're alone in your room or at your desk doing your work, you're not alone. You are part of this bigger Trident family. And so I really hope that when you make it to our commencement and you watch the video or you attend in person, that you can see that you are a part of a much bigger, huge Trident family. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of our resources. You may be wondering, okay, what is there available for me that's going to help me transition and getting started in school? So in your mytlc.trident.edu portal, there is across the top several options, and one of them on the far right says My Resources. Here you'll see a list of resources available to you. Math and writing tend to be a big thing that students are concerned about, rightfully so. Usually students will be nervous about managing their time and writing and doing the academic piece. If you can manage your time, you've got half of the battle won. Now here's the resources that could help. We do use APA formatting as our general formatting style for the school for papers. Now, it is important to note that that's what we stick with, but it's depending on your assignments, it might not be required. Like in a math class, they might not ask that you do APA. We are in the transition right now. Some classes are using edition 6 and some 7. That is something that is in the process of transitioning. So I'd always ask your teacher, but the key is I would encourage you to start to get to know that. A quick Google search and you will find so much information on that. But don't be worried, don't be overwhelmed by it. Learning is a gradual process, right? And then the Turnitin guide, which is something to kind of help you ensure that your work shows as your original work. The next thing that we're going to talk about is tutoring services. So if you see on this next slide that you are in one of these classes, English 101, Math 101, Statistics and Math 201, Health Statistics, Operations Management, Finance, or any of the TUX courses, there is something, and you'll see on here on the screen, that's called free tutoring. What this is we've partnered with tutor.com. And so if you're like me, you stay up late and you do your homework after the kids are in bed and everything's done. And so you can access a tutor anytime, 24/7. And it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect, but it's a great option if you're just feeling like, I just need to ask a few questions, or am I doing this right? So I'd encourage you to use that. The next is one of my favorite options or resources, because it's something that I help facilitate. Every day I'm in this orientation helping new students answer questions, have discussions. So if you have not done that as of today, please go in and before you go into your class, complete the online orientation. You'll have access to it for up to 6 months after you start your program, but it's by far the best way to go in and learn the portal, learn the classroom, and how you can navigate, how you can find your teachers, how you can participate in discussion. You can practice submitting work to make sure that you do it correctly. And I'm in there every day answering questions and just making sure people feel comfortable. And usually the feedback is that, oh my gosh, this is what helped me and overcome that hump and feel comfortable. Next, we're going to talk about just kind of first steps to do. I've kind of laid the groundwork now, but go in, log in to your class, do your orientation, and take a tour of your class. There's not much that you can click on that's going to break your class, or there's really not anything that could break it. But sometimes people are a little nervous. Just click around. There's different ways to access different information. And so the more time you spend in the class, the more you're going to feel comfortable. Look over the syllabus, read the assignments, and post your introduction. I always say the introduction is the easiest part. You literally just go in and say, hi, this is me, a little bit about me. And then you get to read about your peers and see that you might have a lot in common, or something to learn from the peers in class. Ask questions and develop your time management plan. So that's kind of like the pre-gaming for the class, right? You want to make sure you've read the syllabus, you've read everything, but don't feel overwhelmed. I always felt in college, like the first week of class, that it was a lot of information, but then over time, you get reminders, you check your schedule, and you're doing good. And so develop that plan and check in with your advisor. I always, whenever I see a student that I don't know, I call them. I'm like, I need to know you because we haven't spoken yet. And I truly want to know them and what their goals are. So in summary today, you're going to log in, you're going to complete your orientation, you're going to introduce yourself in your class. And then I would encourage you by midweek, usually by Wednesday, to submit at least your Module 1 discussion post. That's different than your introduction. That's an actual assignment discussion post. Keep in mind, teachers are bound to a rubric. What is a rubric? It is a list of criteria that the student needs to meet for each assignment. And so you can see even in your class, okay, if I submit it on time, I'm going to get like full points, or, you know, they require this many words, so I get this many points. So always look at your rubrics. For all of our assignments, every module is 3 assignments. You're going to have your case assignment, your SLP, and your discussion post. Most classes have 4 modules. I think pretty much all of them. And sometimes your SLP might be a quiz or a paper. Your case assignment typically is a paper or an activity in that regard. Get to know your professors, set up your work area, and just be ready to go. And I would say as soon as you get your first discussion in, try to write a paper, maybe by the weekend, so that you don't have your case assignment, your SLP the second week of class. Or if you do both of them in the second week, it's no problem. But just make sure that you kind of know each day what you're going to be working on and submitting. And so my last advice is just really reach out, and we don't want you to feel alone. I always tell my students, I am full of the most random information. And so you don't know unless you ask. Maybe you can't find a resource in the library. Maybe you aren't sure how to set up text to get a grade notification. We can help you with that. So that being said, I'm excited for you. Hopefully that this information was helpful. I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Del Hierro, and he's going to discuss one of the topics that I think is really crucial, and get ready to take some good notes. We're going to talk about academic writing. Dr. Del Hierro, I turn the time over to you.
On behalf of the faculty, I just want to extend my warmest welcomes to all of you. It's always the most exciting time of the month for us to welcome in a brand new crop of leaders into the Trident family. And so we all look forward to interacting with you, getting to know you, and seeing what great things you accomplish in and out of the classroom. So this section focuses on academic writing. It's one of the points of concern for some students, especially who have been out for a while. It causes some anxiety, and so the goal of these next couple slides are just to relieve some of that anxiety and give you some direction to build momentum. So Michael mentioned it, but these first couple days it's going to be really imperative for you to get the wheels going. And so I hope to provide a broad overview of what your faculty will expect of you with writing, and to relieve some of that anxiety for you. This first slide is just it's meant to frame your mindset for what the expectations are within academic writing, and why and how is it different from what you might be used to within your military experience or business experience. So the three key differences that I want you to think about between business and / military and academic writing are the goals of writing, the process of writing, and voice. And so when you're in the military, so the first one is the goals of writing. If you're going to graduate from an accredited institution, you're expected to have a high degree of written and oral communication skills. And so that is kind of what we're helping prepare you for upon graduation. So the first point that I want you to think about is the goal of writing. So when you're in a business environment and when you're in a military environment, your goal of writing, the only purpose you're writing is for mission accomplishment and to accomplish objectives. The difference within what you're going to find in an academic environment is that the goal of writing is to help you become a better communicator. And so there are some steps and some areas that we look for as your faculty to help you become a better thinker and to help you become a better writer, a more effective writer. So for example, within the military and in business, you're writing to accomplish this objective as quickly and efficiently as possible. And when you're in your academic classes, we're looking for your logic and rational thought development of your ideas. So sometimes this comes out when you're answering questions as maybe a 1 to 2 sentence or a 1 to 3 sentence reply to answer a question, because you're in that mindset of answering the question and giving the conclusion as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that's not the only thing. That's actually not the most important thing that your faculty is looking for. It's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the reasons why and how you came to those conclusions, your critical thinking skills, and your logic and your rational thought development. And so that takes more time, and it takes more effort to lay out those arguments and to do the research from different sources and integrate the background readings into your experience to support your conclusion. So your faculty member is not just looking for the answer. We're not just looking for the conclusion. We're looking for your reasons why, the thinking and the evidence behind it, and your logic and your rational thought development. The second area of that's a challenge or the difference between military and business writing versus academic writing is the process of writing. So when you're in a business environment or you're in a military environment, your superior would give you a command or an objective to write up a memo or write this up or write that up, do a report. You pass it off to your superior edits it, adds a couple things, passes it off to their superior, and before a decision is made, there's 2 or 3 hands that have touched this document. That's different than what you're going to find here and what your experience will be in an academic environment, because you are the single author of this document, of this assignment. So you have to go through the brainstorming. You have to go through the outlining and the editing and the drafting and the formatting, and all those things take time. And so you have to consider those elements when you develop your time management plan for these classes. The third key difference is voice. So if you haven't noticed, especially in the military, you're big on uniforms. I mean, you're dressing the same, you're often talking the same, and sometimes that comes out in your writing. That comes out in your writing, and so that causes some issues because it raises some concerns for academic integrity issues. So we want you to be aware of that. Your instructor will be looking for your independent understanding of these concepts. And so we're looking for you to paraphrase different ideas from a variety of different readings, and background sources. We're looking for you to summarize some of these ideas in your own words. So quotations are great, but your instructor will care more about your understanding of these concepts. And that is different than stripping out a quotation and sticking it in your paper. It's fundamentally different, and it takes a lot more critical thinking and a lot more time and effort to summarize these different ideas in your own words and put them in. But that is what your instructor is looking for. And if you consider these things, you will reap the benefits of this program upon graduation, and I promise you will become a more effective communicator and contributor to your organizations. The next slide is just meant to give you a general overview of academic writing structure. And so this is not an all-inclusive slide. These are just some tips that as an instructor, I see students kind of missing these points. And so as a writer that you may not have as much experience in an academic environment, or maybe you've been out for a while, I hope that this gives you some direction to get the wheels going and build up that momentum early on. And so there are more resources, more in-depth resources like the ones that Michael mentioned within the Writing Center, and our resources drop down. So please make use of that. But here I just want to frame your mind into what we're looking for in terms of structure and content. So there's basically going to be three main parts of your essay: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And so your introduction is kind of like any presentation you may give, like a PowerPoint presentation. You always have a first slide that tells your audience what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. And so that's your introduction paragraph. You're just going to be basically presenting an overview of what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. So I want you to think about this, because there's an important statement in your introduction that your instructors look for, and it's called a thesis statement. Essentially, this tells your reader what the purpose is of your essay. And so a great way for you to know what your instructor is looking for is to look at the module learning outcomes. So every module, you have 4 modules. Every module will have learning outcomes on the home page. So every module will have learning outcomes for every assignment on the home page. That is basically what your instructor is looking for, and that is what your instructor will be looking for or measuring your understanding of those concepts. And those are great statements to put into your introduction paragraph, and to help ground you when you're answering these questions. So in addition to the learning outcomes, your assignments will have like 3 or 4 questions that you have to answer. Use those learning outcomes as like the lenses to view those questions. So address the learning outcomes through answering the questions. So consider that with your thesis statement development, and definitely make use of those module learning outcomes, because they give you what your instructor is looking for on each assignment. From there, you got your body paragraphs. And so the best recommendations I could give you when you're first getting going in your writing is to break up those questions into sections and subsections using headers and subheaders. So just like on a PowerPoint presentation, you have headers that tell your reader or tell your audience what this slide is about. Same thing within your essay. Include a header, include subsections within that make it overtly obvious to your instructor that you are addressing this part of the assignment. This is the key term that you're going to be addressing. So not only does it provide some structure for you for your essay, but it also makes it very obvious for your instructor that you are hitting all those points within your assignment. And so again, going back to the content of your assignment, is your instructor looking for the conclusion? Yeah, sure, we're looking for your answer to the question, but again, we're looking for the reasons why. And so when you draft your paragraphs, I kind of want you to think about aiming for about 4 to 7 sentences. Trust me, nobody's going to be counting your sentences out, but I think it's a good guideline for you, because if you're going below that 4-sentence mark, then you're probably being a little bit too brief or concise, and you're not exploring the topics or discussing the topics in detail. So make sure you're going back and citing some evidence from your background readings. Again, we're looking for APA citations and some evidence, some objective research and evidence to support your conclusions. And if you're going above that 7-sentence mark, then you're probably rambling on too much, or you could make that into a more concise structure to better highlight your ideas, or you just need to break up that longer paragraph into some more paragraphs, into maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. But you don't want to go on and on a page and a half of text, of block text. You really want to break that up into small sections and subsections, include those headers, and make it really easy for your instructor to pick out those main points. If you're struggling, again, I talked about the thesis statements above, but if you're struggling in terms of how to start a paragraph and what your instructor is looking for, I always mention these points right here. Define the key term, explain the application of the key term to the assignment, and then discuss why the concept is important to either the module learning outcome or just the class in general, specifically and with specific focus to the module learning outcome. So those 3 points, I think if you cover those, that should get you to that 4 to 7 mark. Include some evidence in there to support your ideas, and that's a great way of just getting started. This is not going to be the perfect way. I can promise you that your instructor will give you feedback, but it's really important for you to take that feedback and then just continue to build upon it. Your instructor is not looking for perfection. In fact, you shouldn't expect that of your instructor. We're here to make you better communicators and better critical thinkers. That's our value. That's our objective. And so when you explore these concepts in a variety of different ways by defining and explaining and discussing the value of these concepts, you're in essence exploring these concepts from a variety of different ways, and you're thinking about them in different ways. So consider that when you're drafting up your assignments. And then the conclusion paragraph is the last part of your assignment, and it really just reflects, it's just kind of like a reflection of your introduction. Your introduction is telling your audience what you're going to be talking about, why it's important, and your conclusion is going to be basically stating what you already have talked about and why that's important. And so they're mirror images of each other. Again, this is not an all-inclusive, these are not all-inclusive suggestions. It's just simply to get the wheels going, and over time you're going to receive more detailed feedback from your instructor to become a better written communicator, a better writer. And so I just highly suggest that you accept that feedback, and with willing and open arms. So I hope that helps. Again, refer back to the resources under the writing resources under the resources tab if you need some more in-depth advice. Always reach out to your instructor, because we love hearing from you and we love to support you in this process. Honestly, it is our honor to serve you. So please make use of us.
Thank you, Dr. Del Hierro. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all current students and Trident alumni. The URL is on your screen now. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. For more information, reach out to alumni at trident.edu. We also have Career One Stop, which is a source for career skills development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. This can be accessed on the front page of your student portal right after you log in. If you have any questions on that, reach out to Trident for careers at trident.edu. That's Trident, the number 4, careers at trident.edu. And now we're going to move on to today's Q&A session. Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the session. Just doing a couple things so we can get the Q&A session started. Not sure where that feedback was coming from, but I think it's ended now. And if it was me, sorry about that. Welcome everyone. Welcome Tasha, Dr. Del Hierro, and Angie. Angie is one of our student success advisors, and she will be answering some questions for us today, including the first one that just came in. And Angie, the question is, when we submit assignments, do we type them up in a Word document and upload to a Dropbox? I've taken courses at Trident before, but it's been a while, so everything looks new and different.
Hello, sorry about that. I believe that for some reason my audio cut out for a second. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. When submitting assignments, do students type up their assignment in a Word document and upload it to a Dropbox?
Yes, they actually do. So a lot of my students, they do type up their Word document and then submit it into a Dropbox. They have until 11:59 to submit those assignments. So yes, you would do that, or you can also use Google Drive.
Okay. And to clarify, that's the 11:59 Pacific time?
Yes, it would be 11:59 Pacific Standard Time.
Cool, yeah, because just glancing at time zones of people on the webinar today, we've got some attendees from all over the world joining us. And as a quick reminder, if you have questions, submit them in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen about halfway down. And to answer the question that just came in about the slides actually won't be available on the portal, but we will send the slide deck out through email. So keep an eye on that. That'll be sent later this week.
I'm gonna just back off of something here, Daniel. So yeah, that's correct. Almost all of our assignments are typed up and written, and typed up and submitted into the Dropboxes. But you might be asking yourself, what is that practice Dropbox for? And so that's a new feature that we have within the assignments, or within the actual Dropboxes of each module. And so that actually allows you to test your Turnitin score, or to see your Turnitin score prior to actually submitting your assignment. So many of you are doing research on your own, and you're using quotations, or you're paraphrasing, and you're using different resources. But if your Turnitin score is a little bit too high, that may trigger you to go back and rework some of that stuff, and maybe include more of your own original thoughts and analysis into those papers prior to actually submitting it into the actual Dropbox within the module. So I just wanted to do a little plug for that practice Dropbox, as you will see them within your classes. So if you're wondering what that is, it's completely ungraded. I don't even look at the practice Dropbox. It's only for you. So make use of that if you are interested about your Turnitin score.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, good plug. And next question. This one is for you, Tasha. And the question is, do initial discussions require in-post quotes and references at the end?
It's recommended. Anytime that you are posting information that is not your own, created by yourself, or is not your own, and you're referencing something, it's recommended to use an in-text citation. Now, I say that being careful that this is a group of brand new students and I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But the idea in general with using thoughts that are not our own, right? Like, if I quote Dr. Del Hierro and something he just shared about writing papers, I want to give him the credit, and I want to always clearly delineate with my writing what's my thoughts versus what I'm sharing or borrowing from someone else to enhance my statement. So with an initial discussion post, I think it's a great practice to do at the master's level. It's the expectation. At the bachelor's level, there's an understanding that still getting the hang of things, but it is pretty much expected that if you're going to use an external resource, to be sure to cite it. And an in-text citation that they're asking about is if I say, Dr. Del Hierro said last year, you know, the students did great, I would put a little parentheses with Del Hierro 2021, comma 2021, and just there's very specific ways to do it, but the short answer is yes.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off of this. Required is such a strong word, you know, because it kind of like tells me or gives me an impression that if you don't do it, then you're not going to get points for it. I mean, your thoughts and analysis will get graded. You're going to receive a grade. It may not be a very strong grade or meet your expectations if you don't use the research and rely and ground your ideas in the background research. But yeah, I grade. I mean, you're going to receive it. I don't think it's required. I think it's strongly recommended. And I would say if you want to put yourself in a position to earn maximum points in the discussion or on all of your assignments, you would ground your ideas first in the background readings and materials, especially within those learning outcomes of found on the module homepage. Do the background research first, and then you can integrate some of your own ideas and experiences and blend them together. But yeah, that's in order to make yourself eligible for maximum points and to earn the highest grade, then yes, please put in those in-text citations. And then there's also a bunch of resources that Tasha went through on the TLC homepage that can help you out with that as well. So
well articulated, Dr. Del Hierro.
And I will state again, just again, you're going to receive a lot of questions, especially in those discussions or even in some of your assignments, like, what is your opinion on this? Or what is your opinion on that? I would just strongly, from a technical writing piece, I would just strongly recommend that you kind of stay away from using those personal pronouns like I and me or you, us. It's just kind of they sound more like an opinions, and I know it can be confusing because the questions are asking for your opinions. But try to challenge yourself to write in the third person as much as possible and making the subject of your sentences the actual topics within the assignment. So instead of saying to earn a good score, I need to study really hard. That's a bad example. But listen, so instead of saying I want to study or I need to study hard to earn a hard score, to earn a high grade, you can say many researchers assert that studying hard will earn your highest score, or will give students the best opportunity to earn the highest score. You see what I did there? I mean, it's obviously we can kind of work off of experiences, but in order to kind of make those ideas pop and sound more objective, and to make it obvious to your professor that you have done the research and you have read the assignment, read the background materials, put in those in-text citations to make it obvious for us, to say like, oh, there it is. All right, that's coming from the book and not just from their hip, shooting from the hip. So just wanted to state that as well.
Great information. I think the most popular phrase students you see is the research suggests X, Y, Z, and then your citation. And so next question. This one I'm going to send this to. I'll send this to Tasha. At the end of every course, will there be a final exam?
No. That's the short answer. No, the way that we do our work, our pedagogy, it's case-based. So we're testing your knowledge in a sense and your understanding of the work by the papers that you write and what you're synthesizing the information. And I wanted to share, so I went to a private school in my bachelor's degree and I got my master's at Trident. And the difference in the information I returned was drastic. The information I retained was drastic because I was able to write a paper about the information that I learned. And that's how we make sure that you really understand the concepts. There are some courses that have quizzes, and I want to be clear about that. And so there will never be a comprehensive final exam in your courses. You may have at the end of the class a compilation of SLP papers, which is a certain assignment that you're submitting each module. And then sometimes they will have you combine those papers into one overall one, or a PowerPoint presentation that you're speaking over at the end. But usually there will be, well, there's no final exams in general.
Okay, and how are the final exams different than capstones?
Well, there wouldn't be any final exams. So a capstone course is going to be the last class that you take in your program. And it's basically your way of saying, I understand the information that is encompassed in this degree, and I can get at least a C or higher to pass it, to show that I understand that. A C at the bachelor level, a B- or higher at the master's level. I mentioned that because anything below would not be passing. But it's comprehensive. So let's take an ethics class, for example. If you take this is not the capstone, but an ethics class is just going to talk about ethics and the concepts in that, go very deep into that. A capstone course is going to take a little bit of ethics. Maybe you'll take a little bit from business law, business communications, and it will wrap that all into your assignments in your capstone that's still structured like your other courses in 4 modules with a case, an SLP, and a discussion post. So the format won't look different than what you're used to. The word capstone, I think, sometimes can be a little bit intimidating, but just think of it as a lot more broader topics that you're demonstrating, pulling in skills from different courses that you've learned versus just one topic in business.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that, Tasha. It seems like there's a little higher level of final exam anxiety amongst the attendees today, which is
well, no need, because there's no final exam, so we're good there.
Yeah, I've been out of high school for quite a long time, and even my undergrad, and every now and then I do have final exam anxiety as well. Great. Next question. Gonna send this one to Dr. Del Hierro. As far as math is concerned, will they be writing assignments or regular exam? And this sort of try to guess what's being inferred here. Regular exam, maybe they're referring to like multiple choice. And you can correct me if I was wrong on that. So yeah, question is, will math testing be writing based or a regular exam?
Tasha may be able to piggyback a little bit off of this response, but my initial response is it depends. Depends on what type of math class you're actually taking. So I know that our early, I believe Math 101 and a number of our early lower level math courses are actually, they will redirect you to NROC, which is actually an artificial intelligence type of math program. Probably much more engaging than what you're used to, with a bunch of games and learning activities. And all of that will automatically just kind of get plugged into the system for your grade. I do know that other math courses, especially like certain statistics classes and sometimes in graduate level classes, will require some sort of analysis. So again, you're kind of coming up the scale. So there's a little bit more analysis and a little bit more writing involved because you're analyzing and you're talking about the data and why it's important, or the numbers and why they're important, what they mean. So that's my initial response is it depends. But I do know a number of those lower level classes are not quiz based. I would say that they're activity based and they're not written. Like you don't have to go through a Word document and type them out, but rather you're playing a bunch of games and simulations, and the system will actually move up and down and to wherever your level is at, so that you can master those concepts and move forward.
That's right. It's very different from our courses, where it's similar and where students sometimes have challenges is not so much in a paper writing situation, but more in the discussion area. And this is where with math, follow the requirements asked by your instructor, but also aim to take the conversation further. And you'll see once you get into the class what I mean by that. But the lower level maths are interactive in that regard. And what I see is students will skip the activities that Dr. Del Hierro was referring to, and then they'll go right to the final activity, and that's their grade on their assignment, and not realizing. So you always just want to make sure you do like the pre-assessments and the reviews, because that's where you're doing the learning, so that by the time you get to your assignment, your grade is higher. And I will say, if you're doing a statistics class or a college mathematics class, there is free tutoring available, but statistics is going to have it be more in a Word document. It's not necessarily an essay. And if this is the first day of class and you have access to it, please go in so you can see the difference in those classes. We don't consider statistics a lower level one, so that would be a different format. That's the long answer for that.
Okay, great. Great, thank you. And the student, they were referring specifically to MAT 095. And
we don't offer that class. Are we referring to possibly the resource in the My TLC portal? Because we don't have a math 095.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's like a training, yeah, for anybody. And if you do have like math anxiety, that's a great course. It's located underneath the the resources within the TLC portal. It's not graded for you. Just same thing with English 095. I think there's another resource in there. But if you're having writing anxiety or math anxiety, those are those 095 classes that you'll see within the resources page, and they're not graded, but they're purely for you to get your feet wet and feel more comfortable about developing those skills, so you can dive into certain subjects.
Great, thank you. And Angie, you have anything to add to that, and especially about any students who may have math anxiety? Because I know that is something that popularly occurs.
Yes, actually, like pretty much to piggyback off of Tasha and Dr. Hierro, just make sure you communicate with your professor. Your advisor is always here too to support you. So, I mean, myself, I'm not an expert in math, but I definitely can like say that the most important thing is communication. And then just asking your professor, just take that crazy second, just ask, and we will help you get to where you need to be, and we'll get through this degree together. So.
Okay, and staying on the topic of communication and staying with Angie, is communication, whether it's with advisors, or SSAs, student success advisors, or faculty, is that through personal email or through our Trident email?
Okay, that's a great question. So typically I would advise you to use your Trident email, but if you do use your personal, make sure you let us know who you are. So just be like, hey, my name is Angie Valise. Make sure you sign it off on there, so that way I know when I'm looking you up or trying to get in contact with you, I know who to get in contact with. But yes, if you can use your Trident email, please use it. But yes, communication is key. Yeah, just do the best you can. We'll get in contact with you when you need help. So yeah, thanks.
If I could add to that, and I thought that was a great answer, is we will do our main communications through the university email system, but most students, what I see, will either do it when they first start the program, or you can go into your portal today. On the homepage under tools and links, it will say email forwarding, and say you don't want one more email account to check. You would just forward your Trident email over to your personal account so that you're not missing any of the important messages from faculty or staff.
Thanks. And then, let's see, another question just came in. We're going to start this one with Dr. Del Hierro. And this sounds like something that'll be a good collaborative effort. And question is, being a brand new college student, I'm not familiar with the online class atmosphere. So will there be some kind of step-by-step guide to help me navigate through the online class scene? And do you have any advice on how I should be communicating with faculty?
I love how all of us are like smiling. No, I mean, I think step one is the orientation course. And actually you're doing what you can do right now. I mean, being a part of this first day of class webinar, hopefully you've got some good strategies, especially when Tasha went through the week, but what you can accomplish this week. But that orientation course is like it's an orientation to the university. I just want to say that, whether you're a new student here or somewhere else or at a brick and mortar school, it doesn't matter what organization or institution you're going into, there is going to be a learning curve for you. So don't get frustrated, or don't let that frustration be a block for you to just reach out and ask somebody to help you out. I mean, that's what your advisors are here for. That's what your faculty is here for. But I just wanted to taper that down for you, so or just kind of just let you know that that's part of the you should expect that, and it's normal, and you're going to get through it. So yeah, my first response to you is the orientation course. If you're still hitting a wall, please reach out to your faculty and advisor. And then I know Angie and Tasha have a ton more to say on this, so I'm just going to give a pitch to the orientation, and then I may fill in later on, if something else comes to mind. But Tasha or Angie, if you want to hop in here and give some good words of advice, that I think now's a good time.
I got excited because I'm the orientation facilitator. And so if you haven't gone in, this is a really busy week in orientation. If you go into your class and if you search like under select a course, it should be available. It's called CSE 105, and you're automatically enrolled for this first 6 months of your program. The feedback is one of my favorite parts at the end, and it truly answers your question. It is a step-by-step, says start here, this is what it looks like, but it also helps you learn about who you are as a learner. It helps you practice submitting assignments, practice participating in the discussions, and I'm in there every day, so I'm responding, I'm giving feedback. There's an activity of even learning how to contact your instructor. So if you saw in the recording earlier, I would encourage you today to do the orientation if you haven't done it already. You can spend 20 minutes on it, you can spend 45, you can spend 2 hours. It's really up to you, but there's different checkpoints. And the feedback is usually, wow, no other school I've had helped me this much. And so that's my plug for that, if Angie has any other advice. We can't hear you. Sorry, Angie.
Let's see what happens here. It says it says your volume is on, Angie.
I definitely think you should all take advantage of that, because it does set you up and kind of. Can you hear me now? No? Okay,
yeah.
No. Now you can? Okay. I definitely would advise you to use the orientation, just because it does set you up and it does let you know, experience what you need for these classes. So definitely explore that, take advantage of it. It gives you resources and different links for you to be able to be successful in class. And if you have any questions, again, you're all more than welcome to call your student success advisor.
Great, thank you, everyone. And that's all the questions we have today. And we do have a lot of resources out there, whether they're in student portal, we have a blog. We shared one of the blogs because this is one that a lot of new students tend to have anxiety about, which is APA style. So check that out. And it was actually written by one of our advisors, and I don't even think it's been updated, the footer at the bottom, because he's now faculty member. He earned his PhD at Trident. And I do want to go back to something that Tasha mentioned during her presentation. She said that she's so full of random facts and lots of information, but I definitely don't think that she's unique in that department, because a lot of our advisors are the exact same way, and they're here to help. So don't feel nervous about reaching out to people, whether advisors or faculty or anyone, if you have any questions. So I want to thank everyone for coming today, and good luck this session and beyond. And going to hand things off to Angie to end the webinar with a student success story. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello. Well, yes, I would like to discuss a student success story of one of my students who I've been working with for about a year now. She actually just graduated from Trident with her master's this year. She is a first generation graduate, first in her family to obtain a master's. And while obtaining her master's, she was serving in our military, actually in our medical arena. Some of the challenges that she faced was we're working 10 to 12-hour shifts. And that definitely did take a toll on her education path. She did have to request extensions, and she dropped a couple classes actually, but nevertheless, she finished her degree and crossed that finish line. One of the best things that I could say is, while pursuing education, is keep going. Persistence is definitely key. And don't forget that we're here to support your student success advisors, finance advisors, faculty, and staff. We're here to support you in reaching your goals. Thank you for attending our webinar today. We are here to help you succeed. Please do not hesitate in reaching out to us if you need assistance or have questions. Wishing you the best of success in your future education goals. Thank you for attending.